Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well, and today we're going to talk about the stock market and the stock market taking a bit of a dive again yesterday. So as you can see here, Nasdaq was down 3% yesterday, and funny enough, most of this actually came within like the last kind of few hours of the stock market being open. Like, it was down on the day, but then just the kind of last few hours, just bang, it just totally sold off another like 2% there. And yeah, it was funny enough because actually at the time when this sell-off started happening, I was actually doing a live stream on the Patreon. So if you do want to join them sort of live streams that we do and private Q&As, then the link is in the description. And yeah, I was doing a live stream on there doing a Q&A, and I was like, oh, the stock market's dropping quite a bit. I'm going to have to probably go and just buy a few more stocks. So yeah, after I ended that live stream, I did go and buy two stocks actually. Two stocks I already own. But yeah, if you do want to know exactly when I am buying selling companies and what stocks they are as well, join on there on the Patreon. And yeah, I had to like do a quick dive and go and buy some stocks. So yeah, we'll be talking about everything about that today. If you could smash the like button as well, always helps the video out. But yeah, very interesting day, because when we look at, if we go drop back a little bit now, we're still quite a bit off where we were a few weeks ago. But if we were at the moment, the pre-market is looking quite positive. So we'll see if we do get a rebound. Like, normally what happens is we do get in these last few days, when it has dipped, it has sold off as the day has gone on. So it'll be interesting to see how the stock market reacts today. If it's up in green in pre-market, but if it was to have another dive, it'd be very interesting to see. And like I say, it probably would come in on later in the day if it does, because if we did have another little drop of about 3%, then that would be really interesting, because we'd be back at where we were only a few weeks ago, and for sure that would create some amazing buying opportunities back into stocks. So definitely something to keep an eye on right now. Now, as far as I'm aware, there was only really this that caused the stock market to go down, and it was pretty much about bond yield surging. Now, I've seen this so much in the stock market. Like, obviously I've been in the stock market now doing like YouTube videos as well for like 4 years, been in the stock market for like nearly 5 years now, and the time that I've been in the stock market, I have seen this so much. Like, some little mini stories that come out hurt the stock market in the short term, but as a long-term investor, like, these are just things that you can just pretty much ignore, because these will not affect where companies go in the long term. The stock market in long term will go up. Great companies will go up in long term. Revenue and profit will grow in them companies. Like, these are just little stories that, if anything, are good things, because they will create buying opportunities into great companies and into the stock market. So yeah, I mean, this might be something that gets pushed for a week, a month, 6 months, but in the long term, it doesn't really matter too much to our individual stocks. So I think that's the only thing that's really at the moment pushing the stocks down. Now, I think one of the funny things is, like, I'm going to take Square right now. The funny thing is, like, when we do get these red days where the stock market moves down maybe 3% on the Nasdaq, you'll see a lot more of the growth stocks, the hot stocks, they go down even more than what the individual the stock market does. So like, the Nasdaq was down 3%, but Square here, that does trade at a premium, has amazing growth, does outperform the market when it's going up. If you look at the 1 year chart, that's a one straight upwards line. That when you look at these sort of companies, these are great companies to have in a bull market, and you will outperform the market, and these will outperform the market. At the same time, you've got to be really careful that when you are buying some of these growth stocks, that when we do hit these red days, these stocks go down even harder than these indexes. And this is what I think, something that's been really ignored in the stock market over the last kind of 6, maybe even longer, 12 months really, since we've had the March dip, is like, everyone's kind of like focused more on growth stocks. I've seen everyone like forget about dividend stocks, forget about your Walt Disney stocks, and everyone's kind of like focused more on a lot of these growth stocks, because like, why am I going to keep getting a 1% dividend yield or a 3% dividend yield when I'm looking at Square, and Square's going up? I mean, what has that gone up over a year? Like 460%. Like, why am I getting a 1-2% dividend yield when I could be buying this? And people have kind of like, the greed. This is what I've been saying on the channel for quite often. Like, people got really greedy on the stocks, because a lot of these stocks, and I love Square. I've started buying Square, but people get quite greedy when they see like a lot of these stocks. I think this is just going to continue, and don't realize that with the S&P going up, I think it was like 60%. The S&P went up, Square going up 460%. These sort of companies can't carry on doing this growth. The S&P, that isn't a normal year for it. And this is why you can't solely like keep getting greedy, going into more and more risky stocks, keep going into just growth stocks. You need to be a bit diverse. Now, I actually bought Square because it has been on a little bit of a dip, and if it does go a bit even, in fact, I actually bought it down here when it was on the 25% dip, which is, normally that's quite a big dip for Square. But a lot of investors have been buying a lot of these stocks, and they don't realise that if we were ever to hit a bear market and the stocks go down, a lot of these stocks get hit even heavier than what the indexes do, and that's something you've got to be really careful of. And I think that's what I've noticed over the last few days, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen the same thing, but like, I think that a lot of people have just gone risky and riskier as the stock market keeps going up and up and up. And we've seen people go from dividend stocks to growth stocks, from growth stocks to spec stocks to penny stocks. And like I say, the growth stocks go down even faster than what the indexes do. But I tell you something else, a lot of these spec stocks, a lot of these penny stocks, them stocks go even faster down than the growth stocks. So you've seen like we take Square, that's come down quite a bit, but we take I'm not going to say names because people sometimes get upset when I say some of these companies, but some of these spec stocks, some of these penny stocks, some of these they've lost half the value in like a month, and that's crazy. To lose, imagine if you had 100k in a spec stock, in a penny stock, and you lose 50k. I mean, it's only paper loss. It's not actually concrete loss until you actually sell, but still, I'm sure it affects your sleep at night time. You to lose 100k down to 50k, and this is the problem. I think people have got very greedy, green eyes, and gone into some of these stocks and like, whoa, this is what happens when we have a bit of a downtrend. This is what happens when we have a bit of a bear market. And imagine that if we had that for even a longer period than a month's time. And that's one thing that I've definitely noticed on the stock market side of it. And I think also what's noticed is I've seen like these spec stocks and penny stocks go a little bit quieter now. Like, I've not seen them talked about as much. Like YouTube side of it, forum side of it, just not being talked about as much. And I think a few people might have got the hard lesson of, you've got to be really careful. You've always got to be thinking, am I willing to hold that stock for a long term, and what would happen in a bear market to that stock? And that's something you've always got to consider. And I've noticed as well, I think a few people might have actually left the investing scene because of being used to this stock market where it just goes up and up and up. And that's not normal. I think too many people want to get rich quick overnight, and that's not the way. The stock market is a great way to build wealth, and over the long term you can make some amazing money and grow your wealth absolutely huge. But just for example, if you went to go have a look at Warren Buffett, and we went to have a look at his net worth over time, right? Is this? Let's back and share. Here we go. So this is the net worth of Warren Buffett over a period of time. Look, Rome wasn't built in a day. He's slowly built this up, and it's then we get the rewards of it shooting up. But don't get me wrong, it only looks small down here. If we go back to where, as well, you got to consider how long ago this would have been. No offense to Warren Buffett there, but at 35, Warren Buffett had 7 million. Now, obviously, that would be a lot more in today's money, but still a decent amount of wealth. But then it just kept on snowballing, and until it keeps going up and up and up. Even at 30, 1 million, and let's not forget that would have been, if you put that into today's money, that would have been even more than that. 1 million is still a lot, but because he kept snowballing, these numbers look so small to what currently Warren Buffett's net worth is now. And this is the thing, it's just snowballing over time and building up that wealth, and you will get rich over time. But people expect to do what Warren Buffett's done here at 21, and then invest into the stock market and get to where he is at 83, and boom, overnight. People are getting a little bit greedy, and people need to realise that. I've seen this quite often now with a lot of new investors. Like there's a sudden shock of the stock market hasn't done anything for a month, 2 months, and people are like, oh, my stock hasn't moved for a month. What's going on? This stock hasn't moved for 2 months. What's this about? The stock's down 10%. What's this about? And people have been sold this dream really over the last 12 months, where they've invested in March time. The S&P is up 60%, which it doesn't normally do. It goes up 8% every year. And now they think they can get rich overnight by investing in stocks. And I think a few people have the only way to get rich really overnight is by winning lottery or something. And I think that's a reality check for a few people. what you need to do is buy great companies that you're willing to hold for long term, and you'll see exactly this with Warren Buffett, this compounding over time, and there's no get rich quick kind of thing, and that's the main thing. So I thought I'd just mention that as well, because that's something that I have noticed. So like I say, it's, Square, that's obviously one that has been hurt huge. I mean, look at Tesla, for example. That's one that's down huge. Another one that I hold, Pinterest, that's down 7%, double what the index is. And that's exactly, why you've got to be really careful, and make sure you still have some, diverse companies in your portfolio. And remember, like, a reality check, are you willing to hold these companies for the next kind of 12 months if they did nothing? And that's the thing, some people need to remember that, the stock market can sometimes have some bumpy rides, and if this was one, you've got to have patience. The people that make money in the stock market are the patient people, the people that are willing to hold them companies and see the rewards come in. And just like, if we show that graph of Warren Buffett right there, and that's something that I thought I'd talk about there, some of the stocks that are down, and also that patient side of it. I am also going to say on this one stock that has started to catch my eye again is this one, Facebook. 278, kind of interesting at this sort of price range at Facebook right now. It's kind of, look at that, very much like Amazon really. It's just not done anything for a very long time. Don't get me wrong, as everything, it did quite well at this sort of period, but at the moment it's pretty much chilling. And the other day I was actually looking at what Facebook's forward PE is, and let's load it up here. 20. And I was looking at Facebook actually at this valuation. I was like, Facebook at forward PE of 20 is getting really tempting to me. I'm like, so currently right now I'm up like 40 and 50% in 2 accounts on Facebook, and I've not bought any Facebook for a while, well, over a year now. And I'm looking now and I'm thinking, that's quite cheap for that company. When you look at the balance sheet, the growth it's going to have, I think the revenue grows at like 20%. Trading at a forward PE of 20, I'm like, I might average up on that. I'm averaging up quite a bit, 40, 50%, but I'm looking at valuation. That's one company that is attracting me at the moment that I've not talked about for a while, and I'm getting a little bit tempted to buy that one. So I'm going to leave that one right there on Facebook side of it. But obviously there's 2 other companies that I bought. There's a few other companies that I am considering maybe moving around, so we'll see what happens there. But I thought I'd just mention that one because I think that's a company that's slightly gone under the radar, but is a nice growth and nice valuation as well. But yeah, I thought I'd just talk about that because I thought that one of the big things is when we get this correction, you kind of get a reality check of stocks don't just go up, they go down, and also to remember that it's all about long-term patience, and make sure you're happy with what you're buying, and your company, and you're willing to hold it for long term. And once again, if you're buying in these sort of dips, they're the best time to buy. When this is what I always say, like when the stock market's going up, that's when I start slowing down my buying, build up the cash pile, think about selling companies. But when the stock market's doing this is when I'm like, okay, this is my time to go buy, start spending that cash, buy the stocks. And that's the best way to make money in the stock market, is doing the opposite of what it's doing. If it's green, you go red. If the stock market's red, you go green, basically. And do the opposite, and you'll always do quite well in the stock market. And like I say, I think that's one thing that I've noticed, like the drop off investors, and I thought I'd just talk about that and just say that if you haven't got the patience, the stock market isn't for you. It is. Look at that Warren Buffett. You can still make money on the stock market, great money in the stock market, but it's nothing. I think some people have been spoiled over the last few months. I think it's a get rich quick scheme overnight, and honestly, like there's nothing. People always think they can get rich and think it. There's always hard work to put in. No one ever got rich. I mean, maybe a few people, but no one ever got rich by like overnight. Like you don't see the hard work people put in, and the patience and the graft, and that the stock market is very similar. You gotta have patience. You gotta put a little bit of work in and see the rewards. There's no get rich quick scheme overnight. And I think people got spoiled over the last kind of 12 months. That's a normal thing for the stock market to just go, but it isn't. And you know, you've got to have patience sometimes, and the rewards do come in. And yeah, I thought that was a nice little video to do with this little dip that we are being on anyway. So I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you are new, subscribe. I'll probably make a video, hopefully at some point in the next few days, talking. I might talk about what I bought, unless you're on the Patreon, you already know. I might talk about Corsair. I might do a video on S4 Capital as well in the next few days anyway. But I thought I'd just make that little mini update as well. Just checking in on you guys and making sure you're all alright. And remember, keep the faith, patience, long-term head on. Think about where it'll be in the next 2 years, not where it'll be in the next week, next month, and keep going. And I'm sure we'll all do well, as we have done. If you've been on this channel for the last 12 months, the last 2 years, last 4 years, you know, you guys kind of, I know your mentality is probably quite strong anyway, so but I thought some of you guys might find it a little bit useful anyway. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. I'm going to leave you to the rest of the day, and I'll catch you all in a bit.